Ability up to 54% in those 85 and older.
In Bray, Ireland, Sinead O'Connor fans lined the street in front of her childhood home to pay respects as her casket passed by.
After seeing and living her whole journey, she inspired me to be more myself.
Her funeral was led by an Islamic scholar. The singer's body was found at her London apartment last month. Dow down 386. This is CBS News.
Hire with minimal effort and max speed with Indeed. Their hiring solution platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates efficiently. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
I was crossing the street when I met the love of my life. I chased after her. Nothing would stand in my way. Not the dog walker, nor the hot dog vendor. Finally reaching her, I asked, "What do you call that amazing smell?"
It's Gain Flings.
Gain Flings. My love had a name, but more importantly, it had a scent.
Fall in love with Gain Flings. Seriously good scent. Gain Flings with 50% more freshness ingredients versus leading bargain detergent.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show with your host Wayne Blair, myself Rick Hall. We come to you every Tuesday morning here from the WGNS studios in Murfreesboro, and we try to highlight things about the north end of Rutherford County and what's going on, and historical people and politicians and everything else. But Mr. Wayne, how are you, buddy?
Good morning, Brother Rick. Doing very well. Beautiful day, and had a great Sunday on the water, and football is just right around the corner.
You can smell it almost, can't you?
I listen to all these sports shows, on TV, watch SEC channel and ESPN, and just can't get enough of it, I guess.
I'm the same way. I was listening, had WGNS, and I was leaving work the other night, and they had the sports talk show, and they were highlighting all the teams and where we're at this year, and I'm kind of getting fired up a little bit.
Maybe we ought to get Tim to come on the show, and with him and Monty, and they do a great job keeping up, especially the local talent. But Tim talks about the Reds a little too much, but I'm a Braves guy myself, so
Me too.
I'm tickled how they're doing. So, but hope you had a good weekend.
I did, buddy. Yep. You're dodging raindrops. This is that time of year, I guess, where we wait 5 minutes and the weather's going to change.
No doubt. Rick, this morning we have our good friend, longtime community leader, community servant. I've known him probably for about 90%, if not 100% of my life. Former Smyrna Town mayor, like I said, community leader. Robert Mullins with us this morning. Brother Robert, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us. Good to be here. Rick, I just determined, is he wanting lunch or what? I mean, that's a pretty kind word.
You brought your wallet, right?
Thank you, Wayne. Hey, you mentioned that sports thing. I heard that already. There were some jamborees Friday night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's one this Friday, I know.
Yeah,
middle school.
So football is here, guys.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that they'd already started.
That's Division 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're
Division 1 starts
Friday.
this
They
week.
start. Yeah.
Okay.
So the season is here, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, did our Braves win last night? And I went to sleep on them.
Well, okay.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
They
I
were
woke
down
up, got dressed, and fought the traffic here. So
okay, good.
Yeah, I watched it. I think I fell asleep in the ninth, and there was already one out. So it
the
didn't
Cubs.
look very good.
The Cubs had their way with them too.
Well, they had that big rain delay on last night's thing, and went for an hour and a half. That's telling Stacy it was in Pittsburgh, and I was like, look, we could have got tickets to that game, and there was nobody in the stands, absolutely nobody.
Wow.
But anyway, good to be with you.
Well, we always try to have our host, our guest, excuse me.
Yeah, you be the host.
Yeah, we'll be the host right now.
Please, yes.
Talk about your long, family history here in Rutherford County, specifically the town of Smyrna. Rick and I have had a number of guests that have worn different hats throughout their life and career, and you certainly fill that mode.
Just a quickie, because I've known your family forever, siblings and et cetera there. Rick, I remember your father, because this is after the base had closed, Capital Era's here.
That's right.
We was trying to expand the little youth baseball program into the Babe Ruth League, and your dad was one of the 4 sponsors that had the first team the first year that we moved into the 13 to 15-year-old, and you was among that group. So
how cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been in 1970, probably.
I'm not that old.
Well, I didn't say you were, but I'm just talking about the experience.
No, you're right. You're exactly right. But that's awesome.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, very much so. But anyway, it's he, Carlson Supply, Gills IGA, and who's the other one? But anyway, I'll think of it. But it's 4 that stepped up.
Well,
and Frank Carlson, I remember him. Since that's the local name.
Yes, sir.
Robert, be sure to tell them where they get their suits. Or got the money to get their suits when they get ready to buy some lumber and nails.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Come to the store with
Well, I appreciate you saying that. My dad was an awesome man. He really was. I really look up to and try hard to,
Well, it's part of the community.
Yeah.
And he was, even though he looked up to him being an airline in town, that was very, very professional.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he had time to work in the community. He wanted his children being part of the community, and so we were there with
He
it.
painted I know it was the year we went to the Phil King type league, so we were all like Bulldogs, and he took our helmets that were white and had them all taken apart and took them out to the Capital Air and had the paint guys paint them. Well, they paint them like they were an airplane. And then helmets come back and weigh like 5 pounds. It was the best paint you could buy.
How many little stickers could you put on there about for your tackle?
Yeah. But
let me share with you something a little about a family. Of course, let me give credit to Eugene, my brother, and his daughter Kathy. Of course, back when computers came into being, Kathy got into it, her early training. So we got Gene interested, and so they've done a lot of this family genealogy and finding the roots and things like this. And in this immediate area, when you shake the Mullins tree, there's 3 different apples fall off, real quick. But he shares with us that there was a Priscilla Mullins. Now, why listed only the female that was on the Mayflower? He's gone that far back to find that, because that'd be up in the New England area. So. We don't know how they got down to Virginia, but later in the mid-1800s, probably 1854, I believe it was, would be my great-grandfather, William Franklin Mullins Jr., came across the Cumberland Gap and came over here to live with some other families. His father had passed, his mother had passed, and they had a new dynamic in the family. So he was about 17, 18, something like that. So I'm going to Tennessee, But he comes to Tennessee, and first trait here, he buys a lot in Laverne. I think he supposedly gives $50 for it, type thing. Keeps it a year, couple of years. Sells it for 150 or 60, whatever type thing. Big money in those
Tripled
days.
his money.
Yeah. But anyway, they ended up in, so the Mullins family ended up on Rock Springs Road, out there where Potts Crossing is now. In fact, that little park is where my grandparents lived in a little farm cabin. Back in the 1800s, around 1900 would have been that for him. But anyway, William Franklin Jr. came to Smyrna and lived there. Most all farmers or different type of service work, or craftsmen, carpenters, and that type of thing, bricklayers. But our family is not very nomadic. We don't move around much. Stay pretty close to home. I did have one brother, my younger brother, Wayne. You may remember him, another Wayne. But he married a girl that had retired from, her family had retired from the Army, so she's used to traveling. So they ended up in Georgia as school teachers. She taught kindergarten. He was a band director, and then later became a principal. And anyway, he ended up retired, stayed in Georgia for that. But no, my great-grandparents were on Rock Springs Road. My grandparents were there in Smyrna. Then my dad graduated from the rock school, in 1931. I graduated in 54. Bobby and my son graduated in 74.
Right.
Then so here we go. Just when I say we're not very nomadic, stay pretty close to home. Yeah.
Of course, Bobby's director of schools.
He was in Crockett County. He left.
Right.
He taught here in Smyrna for 7 years, and when the split the Smyrna Laverne High School.
Yes, sir.
A lot of pressure. Half the coaches were going to Laverne, half was staying. Coach, come on, got to go to Laverne, got to go to Laverne. And Bud Rakes, of course, was principal at that time. No, Bobby, you got to stay with me. Come here, stay with me. So Bobby just packs up and goes to West Tennessee, Crockett County, where he ends up later. But then, he was coach there. Girls basketball coach. He did come back to the state twice. That was his goal, because he had been to the state with Harry Gill, and that Smyrna had a record in those years of showing up at the state. So he did get twice. He didn't get to the finals, but he got here a couple of times. But then he was later principal, and then later director of schools, and then most recently, it's like you've been in education, Wayne. He had his years for retirement, so he took his retirement and then went contracted back to the county as the athletic director for Crockett County.
Oh, wow.
Now you put that together.
Kind of like Tim Tackett.
Yeah, that level. But it's 3 elementaries, 1 middle, and 1 high school. So he went in at 12 o'clock, but he had to stay till 10:30 too, because athletic director had to turn out the lights and
right,
empty the garbage cans, do everything else.
Or a few hats too, didn't you?
But anyway, we have. And then Kim, our daughter, is a teacher in Memphis system, right now. So
yes, sir.
Education has been very close to our family as well.
I remember being at Thurman Francis and playing football there for the Rams, and of course, Bobby was a 7th grader when I was a 9th grader, and I just remember you being so intimately involved in our development and supporting the school and the football team, and
we had a lot of yard sales and whatever it took to get money to get the team on the road. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When I think of you, of course, like I said, you wore a lot of hats over the years, but the impact that you made on my young life, that's my first thought of you and all the work that you and Miss Dot did to promote, our opportunity to participate.
Well, that's kind of you. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
You were talking about earlier I guess your grandparents on Rock Springs. I think like I used to do some work out there for Johnny Carter, and I think isn't there a cemetery? It seems like I saw some
in the corner of the gardens where they're buried.
That's what I thought.
No markers.
Yeah.
But that place, the house where Johnny Carter lived there, that's where those old 2-story logs stood there. In later years, I think it burned, and then the Carter family was the one that built it back.
Yeah. Okay.
There. But yes. And when they was developing all that area, Potts Crossing and Montgomery Way and all that type of there, they was widening that road out through there, and we found it. The road was designed to go over where the plot was supposed to be, so I called that attention to the new, hoping to be able to move them to Mapleview, but they ended up there's a curve in the road there.
And that's to get out of their way.
It's to go around.
Wow. Okay.
Rather than yes. So that's what I say. Rock Springs Road has a lot of history with us.
That's awesome. So I wanted to bring up, because we love history and stuff, but near your house over there, isn't there an old schoolhouse, and it got, or is it gone now? Or
you talking about in where I live now?
Yeah,
there on Division Street.
Yeah.
It was the address. The latest address was 111 Division Street.
Okay.
There's an old 2-story house. Currently we refer to it as the Webster House. I think some of the Colemans and some of the other families, another family, maybe the Jarretts, but there was a little 1-room type cabin there, and originally, obviously, it had been used. But we're talking about the 1800s now. There's some records in the 1890s, things like that. That's when you had tutors or educators that come through the community, and primarily being a farm community, you'd go from November to February, type, be a short time. But you'd pay $10 or whatever for your child to go to school. But it was a tutored type school there. Educationally, the primary came in the late 1800s. I think officially 1909 was elementary school. Maybe it was built in Smyrna. 1919 was when the high school was first built, I think it was.
So the rock school, as we know it, that was somewhere around 1919.
19, right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I
And
did
then-
not
then it burned.
know that.
Then it burned in 26 and was rebuilt back. And then you probably went to the rock school. Both of you did.
I
Didn't
did.
you? Y'all didn't get
It
to
was
go.
after my time.
Okay. It was
Seems like
there.
it burned.
and It burned, and then later there was a
mid-70s
rubble
or
pile
so.
there for many, many, many years. And finally, I think officially, we're getting ahead probably, but Rutherford County ended up and shared it with the town of Smyrna. That's when we put the park and the library and all that there. That had been late 90s.
So who were your principals or principal?
Mac Williams.
Oh,
J.J. McWilliams.
Mr. McWilliams. Okay, I wasn't sure.
I went to Walter Hill School because we were a farm family, farm labor, so we moved around quite a bit. I went to Walter Hill the first 9 years.
Okay.
But I had an uncle that's played at Central, also, if my name mean anything to y'all, not. Then he ended up at MTSU. You got to play football. You got to play football. I didn't have transportation to go to Central Murfreesboro, so but family said, well, we'll move to Smyrna. It was smaller, related to that. So the family moved to Smyrna. And that's my last 3 years in high school at Smyrna.
Okay. I
primarily play football.
Yeah,
sport.
Yeah, I wish I knew, and maybe I knew at one time was when Mr. Mack became principal at
1950.
Was
probably.
it that? Okay.
Yeah.
I
I went there in the fall of '51.
Okay.
And he was his second year.
Okay. Well, that makes sense because when Mr. Rakes was with us back, I guess our second show, which was it 67 or 68 shows right now, Rick? You got it.
67. Where is
okay.
it? Yeah.
And he was talking about how much trouble he got in with Mr. McWilliams pretty early in his career, and he had a healthy respect for Mr. Mack.
You developed that quick.
I certainly did.
But I'd share with you, if you ever got caught by Mr. McWilliams, principal, it was your fault because we had those old pine floors, you remember, wood floors, and he wore those big old wingtips that had those big old wood heels at that time. He'd go clamp, clamp, clamp. I mean, you could hear him coming. If you got caught, it's your fault.
Yeah. He was an incredible man, World War II veteran,
right.
Fought in North Africa against Rommel.
But he would walk into anything. He wasn't afraid of the buzzsaw.
Oh, he was, yeah.
He came in for a change, so he worked on education.
Yeah.
Discipline is the main thing. Yeah.
Well, that was pretty cool. I wish I'd gone to the rock school just to have had some of those memories, but that's pretty neat.
He even let me drive his. It was a 1950 Bel Air hardtop, with power glide. No, we'd never seen anything like that before. He let me drive it there too.
That's pretty neat. So after you played football, high school, what then?
Well, I married Dot Shinkle. She's a foster child with the Edmondson family. But at that time, we'd met there at school, met there going to church together. We ended up went to Lipscomb together for a couple of years college, married, and then we had 4 children ourselves. Bobby, who's an educator, we talked about. Beth ended up as an accountant with Nissan.
Right.
And then Kim teaches in the Memphis area. And the Kent, our younger one, which you probably remember, Rick, is a self-employed commercial electrician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, works out in Nashville.
You very supportive of the Blue Raiders as well.
Have been. Was a BRAA member for a long time, but then when my wife had her stroke and I had to become the primary caregiver, I gave that up. Yeah.
Yep. She was such a wonderful lady.
Yeah. Well, she taught school as a substitute teacher for 10 years, and then she was the librarian there in Smyrna for 10 years. So yeah, that's some more education aspect. But she quit when they had grandchildren, and it came time to keep grandchildren, so Beth could go to work or others could do whatever they needed to.
Yeah.
And then she taught some in the preschool program at the church program there.
You're, I presume, even though you're so-called retired, you're still pretty busy around the community?
I find some things to do. I still find myself, I like to go to the council meetings, town planning commission meetings. But yeah, we got a Walk for Water coming up with Healing Hands. It'll be coming up in September. Been involved with that some.
And what is that?
Walk for Water.
Okay.
The church sponsors it, but it's a community effort. Last year we had 993, I believe it was, people signed up for it. It's in September, but it's a big thing. Worked with the police department. You know, they had stations at Enid Springs and Hazelwood crossing in.
Okay, I remember that.
We walked Hazelwood to the Old Nashville Highway and back down Enid Springs. You know, we walked 4 miles because that was the average of the people in Africa or Haiti, wherever they was going to it. That they had walked 2 miles to the wells, 2 miles back. So they walked 4 miles for water. So we call it, walk four water. Get my 4 and 4 mixed up.
I get it.
Do you have other volunteer interests presently?
Mainly assistance. We'll try to help. We had one lady we've been working with a couple of years, and she called me yesterday and said Social Security had called her, and they have reevaluated her status and her situation, and she's going to get $550 increase in her Social Security. So,
oh, wow.
We find ways to be of service, I guess, behind the scenes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Not chairman of anything right now. Don't have no particular project per se.
Well, your family certainly had a major impact on our community over the, I guess, last century, if you will.
Well, we officially enrolled in Smyrna High School in '51. So since 1951, we have actively been involved with Smyrna proper. But going back, we attend Smyrna Church of Christ there over on Division Street. But my grandparents were on the church rolls in 1905, per Walter Hoover's history book of town of Smyrna. Yeah. So we've been involved with the church there and with the other community for a long time.
So you graduated before Mr. Rakes?
Yes. Bud was a quarterback. He was a sophomore. He was quarterback on our football team the year I was a senior.
So what did you play? What position? I'm sure you played both ways.
Jimmy Joe Jackson, some remember that name. The coach came in. He switched us from the old T formation to the single wing. So I got to play blocking back and then tailback.
Oh, okay.
He moved me to the backfield because I was hard enough. I didn't. I wasn't fast enough, but I was hard enough to run over.
You go at them head on. Huh?
You just hit them. Grit. Hey, we didn't have shields on the thing. It's because of us that you got shields. No, I was. It would have been my sophomore year.
I say a lot of times Wayne wore leather helmets.
Well, I was going to say I get picked at saying you didn't wear a face mask, did you?
No, we didn't. But Jack Gamble by name because he's a senior fullback. I was playing linebacker, so I thought the line had him. Yeah. And with that time, old Jack Gamble split through and he hit me right in the face, and so I split my 2 front teeth out.
Oh my goodness.
But that was the only injury I had. My knees, my ankles. I didn't have any broken bones. So
you were blessed.
We were blessed in that respect.
Are. You listen to Robert Mullins, a lifelong Smyrna resident, really, and we're going to continue our show with Rick and Wayne, and we'll be right back with you in just a minute.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
There's a lot of people out there talking about testosterone. You hear about treatment centers everywhere. But do your homework and go to a provider that you can trust, one that's been doing it for years. I recommend Low T Center on Medical Center Parkway in Murfreesboro. That's where I get my levels checked. At Low T Center, they make it quick and easy. Walk in, take a simple blood test, and then with their on-site lab, you get the results in 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, weight gain, or loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center's not not like a typical doctor's office where you have to wait a long time to see the doctor. Low T Center is concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options, including physician-monitored self-inject treatments that ship directly to your home each month. No need to drive to the center for weekly visits. Right now at Low T Center, it's only $25 to get your testosterone level tested. So what are you waiting for? Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Hello, class. I'm from the Tennessee Lottery and your professor for the next 30 seconds. So where do proceeds from playing the Tennessee Lottery go? If you answered education, you're at the top of your class. The Tennessee Lottery has raised more than $7 billion for education programs like Hope Scholarships, Tennessee Promise, and much more. Now for some easy homework, go to tnlottery.com and see how the Tennessee Lottery helps students.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
You've probably heard it a million times. If you're injured, call a lawyer. And you probably haven't because you don't know how much it will cost, how long it will take, or even if you have a case. At the law offices of John Day, we provide a free initial consultation because we understand that folks don't want to pay a lawyer only to find out they don't have a case. If you think we can help, we do so on a contingency basis, which means we only get paid if you do. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
WGNS reminds you it's important to shop local. Patronize our local family businesses. It's also important to listen local. The Red Cross is critically low on blood. Vacations bring traffic on the interstate and increased accidents. Your gift of life is desperately needed. In Murfreesboro, the Red Cross is at 501 Memorial Boulevard. Give them a call and make an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. Phone 1-800-RED-CROSS. Don't forget there's a free grief support group that meets every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock at the St. Clair Senior Center. That's Wednesday mornings at 10. And the center is at 325 St. Clair Street. Remember, tax-free right now for the next 3 months on groceries. And that includes tax-free at grocery stores, restaurants, food trucks, even the farmer's market. And speaking of farmer's market, the Rutherford County Farmers Market is every Tuesday and Friday morning from 7 until noon, and that's over at the Lane Agri Park. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather. Partial sunshine develops here this afternoon. We'll see a high in the mid-80s. West winds of 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop, low near 67. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 71.
WGNS powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Looking to go solar? MTE's Pro Solar program is committed to educating members on the process and helping them achieve their renewable energy goals. Learn more about Pro Solar and your free consultation at mte.com/prosolar.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning and welcome back to the second segment of the Rick and Wayne Show. We come to you every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, focusing on the northern end of the county. And it's our pleasure this morning to have as our guest former Smyrna Town Mayor Robert Mullins, community leader, great dad. We're just, Robert, just happy to have you this morning.
It's good to be here. Yeah. Quite a variety of for conversations, that's for sure.
Again, Rick and I always.
Oh, you're my boys.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's right. That's right. We talked about family history in the first segment. Let's maybe delve off into the number of hats that you've worn, especially with the town of Smyrna. You served in several capacities. Maybe talk talk a little bit about that. So Rick was an employee for you at one time too. So
he was my buddy.
Yeah.
I wanted him as my friend.
Well,
too.
yeah,
Sometimes I might go someplace I needed backup.
I was busy in my younger days.
I certainly wanted a detective as a buddy too.
Yeah. Well, we go back, of course, we came off the farm, moved to town, and of course had 4 children, so they were involved with scouting and youth. At that time, baseball was the main sport. Later, that little Bulldog football youth league was developed.
Right.
So in those years, I was very active, involved with. Even tried coaching, but finally they said you'd be a better board member than you would a coach. so I moved, coached the Yankees for 1 year or whatever. Anyway, I moved to we got the Babe Ruth League started, the one I talked about a moment ago. But out of that, we was Boosters Club, and we was very active in the high school sports. Travel a lot of miles and all that type of thing. But then from there, in the mid '80s, I went into the planning commission for the town of Smyrna, and served in that capacity from 85 or so till 2001, and that was a very interesting time because Smyrna was breaking out, beginning to grow from base development days, and then of course after the Ridleys retired from their leadership in the government, I was asked, hey, come on, join us. So I came on as a commissioner in '93. Commission of Utilities. At that time, we had a commission former governor, a government, and we had 5 commissioners, and each one had their area of expertise or responsibilities, not necessarily expertise, because I had utilities, there's parks and rec, there's police and fire, there's administration, maybe another. But anyway, each commissioner had their area, and my take on it was once you got the budget passed, then you were responsible for the activity in that department. In other words, if your director wanted to do anything, that came to you. Now, there was a town clerk, of course, by name, that was Mike Woods at the time, and Mike had supervisory responsibilities, but he mainly was to see that the town's taxes were collected and the bills were paid, He was not that heavily involved, or at least with our group, and of course with, if you remember Mayor Ridley, because he was pretty much involved, ran everything through the mayor's office type thing.
Right.
But our group had said, hey, if you hire your director does the job. So then I was there for 4 years, and the next year I ran for mayor, and was mayor from '97 to 2001.
Talk about some of the personalities possibly you worked with, like Sally Walls and.
Sally had been police chief. She was the first female police chief in the area, maybe even in the state. I don't know.
So was it state?
I think it was first in the state. Yeah. And of course, she was very committed to that. Obviously, she was commissioner of police, so, and we had all agreed that we would respect each other in the respective area. In other words, if it was a police activity, Sally would be the one to make the recommendation, make the decision. Now, she had to get 3 votes, or any of us did, to make it move forward. But Sally was obviously very good, well-trained, educated, degrees and everything else with that. So, yeah, she's one, and she was, I tell you what, out of that group, I think all 5 of us had some connection with Rock Springs Road. H.G. Cole, of course, Paul Jones was involved part of the time. Jerry Oxshire had, his wife had been out that way.
Bill Jordan.
Bill Jordan had grown up out that way. So, in fact, there's a T-shirt hanging in my closet yet today that's got the Rock Springs group saved out with.
Y'all fundamentally changed the whole way the government ran in Smyrna, and the way we've been able to prosper today is through that short 5 or 6 year stint that you as mayor and as a commissioner, y'all changed everything.
Thank you. When talking around, of course, I'd been an employee with Tennessee Farmers Co-op for a number of years, and they are very strong on committee and education. We depend on the University of Tennessee, with State Department of Agriculture. I mean, we went to a lot of committees. Some industries say too many committees. So I came with that background. You study, you have committees, you delegate, you move things like this. So when we was talking around, I think Smyrna was it was the largest city in the state that still had a commission form of government. I think there's only 6 left in the state. There was a style of government that was popular and good at the turn of the century, 1900, small communities where no one was full-time, but the community came together and people gave their time and managed their area. And so, like I shared with you, we each had our respective areas to manage or be responsible for. And we had it so that the director would come ask us for confirmation on how to proceed. Budget's been passed. He knows what the budget is, he or she, as the case might be. And so we moved there. But out of that, this surfaced that we had a commission form, and it was an obsolete form of government. So we got Ralph Vaughn was at the Chamber of Commerce at that time. We used he's a representative, John. He's on with WGNS too a lot, radio.
Hood,
John Hood. John Hood helped us a lot because he's at state and everything. But we studied. We had people come in from the university. There's a municipal league, Tennessee Municipal League.
There is.
They coached us through a lot of that. I always wanted somebody smarter than me to help us work through those things, and so I was not bashful about asking questions and help. So they came in, and we did probably 6 months or more study through it, and we had committees from the community that got into it, and finally thought, and that was probably the second or beginning of the third year of the time we got that thing, and we went to a town manager council form of government's what they call it. In that case, you elect your councilman just like you normally do. In Smyrna, of course, it's a popular vote, but you don't run for any position. You run for the council.
Sure.
Then the council. Now at that time we had 5 in that process. In order to get more representation, we moved it to 7. I do remember that.
Yep.
And then 7 people from the community, and they staggered. And we also moved it from August election to the November election when you'd have the
State.
national, federal, and everybody would be together. Hopefully, have more opportunity to vote. But when we switched to that, then the council employs a town manager, and from there, then he puts all the departments together. And there again, he brings the budget to the council. He brings ideas. And of course, you have to vote and council set it off. But that's Rick. Appreciate you saying that because I'm biased, obviously. But I think that was probably the primary or the best decision that's made during our term of time working.
Well, with Wayne and I serving both on the county commission and Wayne several years on the school board, we learned real quick as far as funding and where funding comes and how you're being conscious of every penny that you're spent because it's tax dollars that were at stake. And a lot of times county government, it's all in reference to your property taxes. And, even this past year, there's been this whole talk about impact fees, and it's got to take the state legislator to change it. And, Tim Rudd just single-handedly squashed it for the county to get those impact fees, but you guys were able to get that. So, and those impact fees are taking the blunt off the citizens, and it puts it onto the developers that wants to come in and develop immense property. Then they're paying their way a little bit for those roads and fire protection and the curbing and everything else we as the taxpayers don't have to pay.
That was another area, of course, is how you cost in state Smyrna at that time was making some pretty bold moves on growth.
Yeah.
It happened before I got there, but in case that they did well and good, this would go back to the Ridley days and of course Paul and John's, but they ran the sewer out Rock Springs Road, but they also put per diem on it, and it happened about the time Laverne High School came in. It was out that way so that Laverne, because the state passed a law.
Yeah.
Any public school had to have public sewer. So we ran out there, and Laverne moved the school board, they wanted a Laverne school, so the corner of the property sticks over in Smyrna a little bit, enough to say that it has connections to Smyrna, but the sewer goes through that to there. But then when industry, housing, whatever came in later, there was a fee that you had to pay. And basically we bonded it, the town bonded it and put it out there, and then you paid for it when you came in.
Yeah.
So it was ready to go. That was a big change for Smyrna.
Sure was.
Another thing that what happened that has made a difference in town, I think, here again I'm biased, but we went back and established relationships with Chamber of Commerce and got Chamber of Commerce to put an office in Smyrna. At one time earlier, Smyrna had tried to establish their own Chamber of Commerce, but it had died for lack of, interest in leadership and whatever.
Sure.
But that made a big difference, I think, in industry coming to Smyrna. And we worked hard establishing relationships with the state government, because that's where the grants were, and that's where you went for the TDOT money or the police or safety money and that type of thing. And then we worked hard to, John Mankin was the county executive at that time. Nancy Allen came in later. But so we worked hard on establishing relationships. So those two things, the town manager, council, government, and then the relationships with the other bodies in the area.
Do you have any particular, other than this change in government, as council member, as mayor, anything that just sticks out in your mind that you, maybe we do a positive and negative, something that you're just very proud of, that you were intimately involved in, that you were successful in getting approved, and maybe something you really wanted that you were not successful in getting accomplished?
Well, I'll do the negative side first. Anything. I didn't get elected for the second term. That was wait a minute, because I thought, I had a lot more I would love to have done, but anyway, the public didn't see fit at that time, or for whatever reason.
I feel your pain about that.
But on the other side, we worked hard, conscientiously, intentionally, on our committees. We're talking about the Planning Commission. We're talking about the Sister City Committee. We wanted a female on every committee, and we wanted a person of color on every committee, if at all possible. And if you go back and look at some of those records, we accomplished that for the most part. Yes. So I guess what I worked hard on is to bring the community into being a part of the people of the community, being part of the community.
Yep. Hey, you listen to Robert Mullins, past mayor of Smyrna, and obviously you listen to the program. He's had many hats in his life with the town of Smyrna and making Smyrna what it is today. But we're going to take our second break, and we'll be right back with you.
It's a Slick Pig barbecue, spicy wings and Brunswick stew, everything made fresh for you at the Slick Pig barbecue. There's lean smoked turkey and chicken too, ribs so tender don't need to chew. Well, come on folks, I'm telling you, it's a Slick Pig barbecue. In 1920 East Main, you're gonna love the pig.
The Slick Pig Barbecue, a Murfreesboro tradition.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
Magnolia Medical Center in Murfreesboro. Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And welcome back to the third and final segment of the Rick and Wayne Show. This morning, it is our pleasure to have former Smyrna Town Mayor and community leader Robert Mullins, very good friend of both Rick and I, and just happy to get to spend some time with you this morning, Brother Robert.
Good to be here. Let me tell you one other story about the city government. Hey, Smyrna's a town. That's another.
I always make sure I say town.
we had 2 meetings on that to determine that. Of course, it was recommended by one of the councilmen that we should keep something unique about us, and so we remain to be a town of Smyrna.
Sure.
But anyway, quick, one other situation that happened with one of our councilmen. It had to do with annexation and taxation. One of them, of course, is one of those nights that the public hearing, rooms full. And a crew came in waving the American flag, one of their rights, and et cetera, et cetera. This is America, You can't run over them and that type of thing there. So you try to limit them to 3 minutes. If 5 minutes, you cut them off. But 3 minutes, you're familiar with that, Wayne. But anyway, this guy was coming down hard on us, about how hard we was being on them, where was the American way of life. And out of the blue, he threw his flag, one of those little stick flags, threw it down and stomped in, and this is not America, and And we had an old retired Air Force guy there sitting on the front row, and he walked up just right in the middle of it, and of course picked that flag up. Well, when he did that, everybody cussed. You might have been standing outside, Rick, waiting.
No, sir, I was in the room.
you were there, you remember?
They had us strategically placed all the way around the room.
But anyway, I mean, he was very emotional about it, obviously.
Yeah.
And he said, I have traveled all over this world fighting for this, and you're not going to treat it that way. And
wow.
How cool. You give your comment from your side. You remember
you're exactly right. It changed the whole room. But we had people that were standing up, and I know another young lady who went up and slammed her hand against the
podium.
No, she walked up to you guys on the council and slammed her hand down, and I'll never forget is one of the lieutenant I had at the time, he was up, and it made the news, and it looked like he was we of course made jokes that looked like he was scurrying the chickens out of the room because he had his hands down his sides and he was waving them, like to push them to y'all got to go out of the room. But it was a long-term Smyrna resident we all knew and hugged it out when we were in the lobby of that we were making them leave. But it was a very it was a hard night for everybody.
That was the night that the emotion reached the peak for my term,
Yeah.
And I was ready. Where are they when you need them? When do you call for help?
They had 4 of us, and we needed about 10. Because back then you didn't have
room
TV.
was full.
Yeah, you didn't have TV back then, so everybody showed up in force, and there was only 4 of us. So it was, and we were in plain clothes. We were all detectives at the time, so it was a mess.
But we got through it.
Yeah, but I want to talk about a highlight of that, though, is, unfortunately, we were always known as a bedroom community. You didn't lock your doors. We always knew your neighbor, everybody. And what I think changed Smyrna a whole lot, and I know it's changed my life forever, unfortunately, is when July 12th, 2000 hit, and we had the homicides that happened at Captain D's.
Yeah.
That was during your tenure as mayor, and we weren't used to that. We've never had that happen, and this is now put at our front door, and we were having to deal with it. And we were making decisions and things that weren't ever thought about in Smyrna or done. And we had TBI agents. We had over 25 TBI agents down that stormed the town to help us and trying to put boots on the ground to figure that out, because here not only we've had a homicide, but we've had a triple homicide that's happened at a fast food restaurant, and we unfortunately had one of the bodies that was behind Kmart at the time where Big Lots is, and it was an absolute chaos. But we all came together, and I credit your leadership a lot of ways, because we were making decisions on the fly that we've never made before, and you 100% had our back. When a lot of times I felt like we were getting yelled at, and then all of a sudden you would come in and say, no, do whatever. I mean, I traveled from California to Denver to Florida to all over. I don't know. I think I was the first ever to have a gas card, because we were burning the roads up to figure out who did that. And it took us right at a year later. But you figure we went on national shows. We had national media attention for that. And we in Smyrna had never dealt with any of that in before. And you guys pushed us as far as education. And in my years when I made detective in 97, we stayed in schools, national schools, big schools, where Sally Walls was big on education. You got to get educated. And I think you guys helped us get into a spot to where we were able to handle that and obviously got the outcome that we all look for. And we never want it to ever happen again in our community in Rutherford County or anywhere. Unfortunately, if we could figure a way to stop it, then we could solve a lot of the world's problems. But I appreciate your time and what you gave me and our team. It's not just me, but the whole team of my guys I worked with at the time that we have our hats on you, and we appreciate that.
Well, thank you for saying so, because y'all were the professionals. Y'all have been employed for that purpose, And I guess I depended upon you to do. I knew you'd do the best you could. So get out of the way and let you do your job.
Yeah.
You also held another leadership position that has affected our community. You were past president of the Smyrna Rotary Club, and and of course, our club has infused well over $1 million back into the community, and you certainly have played a part in that.
Rotary was kind of like a one-stop shop type thing, you know. Rotary is made up of business people, owners, entrepreneurs, corporate, and everything pulled together. Of course, at one time, Smyrna Laverne were together. They split the Smyrna Laverne group. Then, of course, today I think they're back together as one unit. What, 100+ members today?
Yes, actually, yes, sir.
So Rotary's been very much a stronghold in the north end of the county for community services. And he said over $1 million. I think last year over 200, maybe 220 or something like that.
I forgot.
221.
221, I think it was last year.
221 last year. We keep going up every year.
Yeah.
Trying to improve that a little bit this year as well. And of course, our signature opportunity was with partnership with the town of Smyrna and the Christy Houston Foundation to do the all-inclusive playground. Mm-hmm. I guess you call them all-inclusive restrooms, handicap, adult changing tables for the restrooms. I think are they finished, Rick, or kind of?
Brian announced last week. He said, "Yeah, I think they're waiting. They got a couple of things to tidy up, so you should see those. I imagine we'll have some kind of." Ribbon cutting to open that part of it. It's funny we're doing a ribbon cutting for a restroom, but those restrooms are so important and so special to so many parts of the community.
I never dreamed that. Well, let me rephrase that. I never thought of adult changing tables, but I mean that's critical for
in that population.
Family traveling. You know, to have some place for when they have a young adult or adult that they have to, they need those services.
Yep.
Well, in that, the Corps of Engineers, of course, the U.S. government with the Seward Air Force Base being closed there, all of those, the Corps has been really, really helpful in having our park system put together. Because a lot of that land is what they call in the flood zones, and it's not buildable, but we were able to start, Rick, back in our time, establishing a relationship with the Corps, and we would get land for, that $1 acre type thing forever. So a lot of that land where the parks are was donated. We didn't have to buy it per se. Sure. But on the other hand, we've been able to develop it, and I guess Smyrna has been recognized over the years as one of the go-to places for their park system or for their family living, to raise your family. In fact, I guess not long ago, Smyrna was one of the top people recognized. Yeah.
Yep. Probably the position that you've held where you were probably under the microscope or magnifying glass than any other position you've held is being a congregational leader.
Oh. You talking about church? Church Christ there. Well, of course, when you go look at Mullins, they've always been affiliated with the Church of Christ in there. And of course, that's when you study that history, that goes way back into the 1800s as well. But that's been our calling, our choice to serve God. God's been good to us, blessed us many ways.
God bless you for your service.
Yeah, so we've enjoyed that. And I guess of course, I went to Lipscomb a couple of years, and at those days, hey, you need to be a preacher, you need to be a preacher. Well, I said, hey, they need good deacons too, so I got some Bible knowledge, Bible study put together in those days. So I was a deacon a long time there, and then became the elder, served as elder for 33 years there. So we saw several growth expansions over those years.
Yes.
Went that's probably when I started going there in the 50s. It was probably 90-ish, less than 100. And there, I get on we call Big Day. I think we had over 1,500 one time. Of course, my dream was I could easily see it would be 2,500 type thing, but that wasn't to be.
Well, COVID affected a lot of congregation.
Cut a lot of them back to half. Of course, and
back.
today it's not uncommon to go ride down the road and see an empty building too.
Right.
Particularly the smaller.
There's 8 a week that are closing in the U.S.
8 per week. That number, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, churches.
I did not know that. That is a terrifying piece of information.
Of course, now what it doesn't say, then you all know in this area particularly, we've got several that have 6,000, I know 2, 3, 4,000. So we don't hear that number. A lot of the ones that are closing are being absorbed into the larger. But then again, a lot because of COVID and everything, there's any number. They got out of the habit of going, and they found it online, streaming it. So they just do their worship service at home with their family, which is.
Well, I think if we got back more to, and we've talked about on this show, if we got more back to the community-based type church things, I know, I went to the pre-kindergarten program that y'all had at Smyrna Church of Christ. My daughter went there, and I know COVID kind of hurt the numbers and the way that program's working. And I got a call the other day. I think they're trying to revive it or do something with it down there. But
we've closed it for temporary.
That's a great complex. But you figure if you get the core people around something like that with their kids, and it evolves over in the church family, because back in the days you always turn to the church. Your county, city meetings that we're talking about, you did on town council back in early times, were all at some local church.
Yeah. The Presbyterian Church in Smyrna, the Methodist Church in particular, were housed a lot of those early meetings. The Masonic Lodge handled a lot of them. So,
Well, we found just in our experience with county government, Rick and I, that your faith-based programs are just, they just reach out across the community.
When you get hungry, where do you go?
Right.
When you need some
that's what was brought up. We have 1,200 homeless kids in the Rutherford County schools.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
And they're trying to feed them in the afternoons to take food home with them, so they have a dinner meal. And
well, right now
we shouldn't have that.
We have a group that's last weekend. They gave away backpacks. I think John Coleman School is one, primarily the target ramble, but we also have David Urey's school there. Our men's Bible study class sends packs of knickknacks, snacks, and things. For when the kid does good, or Friday afternoon, take something home for the weekend to eat.
That's right. Yeah.
But you turn to the church's people. You can have no interest, but on the other hand, I think there are windows of opportunity. Yes. They show up, and that's when you get hungry, or when you have family has difficulties, conflict within the family. There are times when you look for the church.
Well, if you can save one, that's one.
Yeah. So. Kind of like the little starfish on the sand beach, You heard that story many times.
God bless you for your service, Brother Robert. You've certainly made a difference in our community and our county community, and you're a hero to many of us.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad to do it. Yeah, I had an accident with a truck back in February or whatever, so I had to get another one. Well, of course, got a good used one, and somebody's talking about it, and I said, well, it's good for 20 more years. And he said, what do you need one for 20 years for?
There you go.
I might be here. I might be driving it, baby.
You got goals to conquer, right?
Yeah. Lord willing.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Been listening to the past mayor of Smyrna, Robert Mullins, and as many hats he's worn with Smyrna over the years. And I'm like Wayne. I appreciate you coming, and I hope everybody enjoyed our show this week, and we'll be back with you again next week. And everybody have a great day.